Welcome to today's LinkedIn session, which is a pivotal part of our How to Use Your Website for Growth. I'm Henny, and I'm the owner of Pink Elephant Media, a web development and digital marketing consultancy. And today we're diving deep into the synergy between social media marketing and web optimization to unlock those growth opportunities. And we're going to explore lots of new opportunities. I am super excited to be joined by Luan Wise today. She is my absolute go-to on social media. We met about 8 years ago. You have written loads of books, 3 books, fourth book
Three.
on your way,
Yeah,
three,
three.
fourth book on the way. She's been keynote speaker at the Global Marketing Summit recently in Istanbul, just to mention a couple of her amazing achievements. Um, I've been following her ever since. You've been really helpful to me throughout this time, and actually got me doing these lives in the first place. So thank you. I'm going to leave it to you to introduce yourself and tell everyone about all the amazing stuff that you do.
Oh, thank you. It's really strange, isn't it? And I guess it's absolutely the power of social media that we met a long time ago and we kind of know what each other does and are working on and where we are, but you don't always talk, but you still know. And then when you do come to talk, whether it's over a cup of coffee or in front of everyone, it just feels like you really know people as well.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I love. So thank you for inviting me to do this session with you. I am a marketer. I have been for many, many years. I started my career working off in advertising agencies, actually doing a lot of website work very early on when it was people's first website, when we're taking a brochure and putting it online. Don't do so much website work now. But started off in advertising agencies, then went client side in-house and have now been running my own consultancy business for 12 years. Working alongside clients, supporting them, advising them, and also doing a lot of teaching and training as well. Very much from a practitioner's point of view and very much from a social media point of view too.
Fab. So one of the reasons why I asked you today is because we've chatted loads, haven't we, about social media marketing. And one of the first things I always, as a web developer, get asked about, funnily enough, is social. And I'm like, I'm not the social person for you, but we are always looking at ways to bring back leads to websites. And so that was one of the reasons that I wanted to reach out and look around that topic as a whole. Why do we think there's often a disconnect between the social media and the marketing and website conversions? And how does the challenge of creating offers sort of work into that? Because often I find if the offer's not right, they're not getting the reach out. So rubbish in, rubbish out.
Yeah.
We've got to be able to reach out with the right sort of strategies. So just wondering how we might overcome some of these obstacles and, to get them back to the site.
Yeah, I think there's kind of two elements to this, isn't there? There's the social media driving the traffic, and then there's a website that has a real job to do once you've got the traffic there.
Sure.
And a website for any organisation, large or small, is a big thing, isn't it? It's a living, breathing, all-encompassing. Put it on the website. Have we got this on the website? Is the website up and working? It's a really big part of any business. And social media is also, a marketing channel that people think they should be using. They do perceive it sometimes to be relatively easy to use because it's free to download and instantly accessible, and you can get going and you don't necessarily need to spend any money on it. I find one of the biggest challenges with using social media for business, and one of those objectives about driving website traffic, is that people's understanding and use of social media is very much kind of personal first. Using Facebook for friends and family, uploading photos onto Instagram. And then almost like when you get into the workplace, there's almost but this is how I use social media. It's not for that. Or I know how to use social media, but I'm now at work and I don't really know how to do the work stuff on social media. So there's kind of a bit of a blocker to that sometimes, and more of a fear around using social media and how do you use it to promote your business. But one thing I will mention is I've very often worked with clients, can you help me with my social media and planning and stuff? And I'll say, yes, but you're not ready because your website is not ready. If one of the big things we're doing is to create awareness about your business, drive traffic to your website, to find out more, whether it is a sale, a conversion, a download, an event, credibility piece. If your website is not set up and ready, there is no point doing loads of amazing social media posts to get traffic to it.
I 100% agree. You know, obviously I would.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that often people don't think about when planning to build a site is the fact that they need to align it with the marketing strategy, and there does need to be a marketing strategy,
Yeah.
and they need to align that with their business goals and business objectives overall. So often what they do is they just put up service pages and about us page and the other sort of generalized pages, and they have to be there, but actually you need very highly targeted landing pages around the objectives of what they want. And we say that it isn't about just getting a click, it's about the after experience. It's that persuasion funnel that they go on, and social media can be the starting point of that conversation. And also there's lots of silent watchers that
Oh,
watch what you're doing and then feel like they know you, like you said earlier,
yeah.
that suddenly come on from one to the other. So it's part of maintaining that message as well, I feel, throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think saying website is almost too big as well, because I think anyone that has been involved in websites, it's not just about getting people to the homepage or other pages. You know, every page has a really big job to
Oh
do,
yeah.
so that absolutely has to be ready before you pop it on social or add that link into the bottom of a post.
That's an interesting one that you brought up, because that's often what we find. It's an education piece
Hmm.
for a client to think, well, actually, what is the marketing objectives? What are you trying to achieve here? How are you going to be using it for marketing? What happens if they don't do something? What happens if they do something?
Hmm.
So social media is the start of that journey, starting to get to know you, but actually it's the post click experience. It's getting them to a page, every page having a goal,
Hmm.
aligning with the objectives that you're using within social media that actually make it work as
Yeah,
a whole.
yeah, it's absolutely all got to line up, hasn't it? You know, every piece of your online presence has to be consistent and tell the story and take people on that journey to doing business
Yeah,
with you. So yeah, you know, the
100.
website has got to be ready before you're doing your social media posts.
And in terms of advertising, so lots of
Mm.
people talk to us about social media and, how do we get going? And you obviously mainly signpost them straight over to you. Um, but what is the best practice for business to use if they are using social media, if they want to advertise on social media,
Mhm.
to drive that traffic into the site? You've had a great comment as well from Mark, who
I
says, I
know.
reckon there isn't a single marketing channel that universally gets employed well. Luan makes social media simple and easy to understand. You've got a super fan there. So hi Mark,
Oh,
thanks for jumping on the chat. And anyone else want to comment, please do. We'll answer any questions that you might
yeah.
have.
Thank you, Mark. We will catch up later. And if you're looking for any B2B content advice, Mark is your go-to for that one. Advertising on social media. Obviously, advertising on social media is a big part of how the platforms make their money. And we know that as users for free, although that, you know, there is options for us to subscribe to some of the platforms, that is what they're selling. They're selling our criteria to advertise to. I personally don't do huge amounts of advertising. I do advise clients, I do some courses on it as well, but I'm very much of the position that you need to get things working organically first, to know and understand potentially what's working and what's worth your while putting some extra money behind it. But again, I think the biggest challenge with social media advertising is that the platforms have made it relatively easy with these self-serve platforms. Click to boost this here, click to reach 4,000 more customers with £5. So it's easy, particularly as a small business, to think, oh, I can do this and I can and press these buttons and, you know, my world will change overnight and get sales. But advertising is, you know, is years old, and there is still a methodology to it. And when I do an advertising course, I actually say, I'm not talking about your words to start with. I'm not talking about your creative and whether to use this image or that image. I want to know why you're advertising. I need to know your objectives. And we talk a lot about funnels and, you know,
Mm,
are you doing top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel? You cannot do everything in one go in one ad. You have to take people through a process. And if you don't know who you're targeting, and
that's it. And I think most people, when they come and start with us, they actually don't know who their target audience
yeah,
is or what they want or to deliver. And we always go and actually get a room of your target audience together
yeah,
and ask them, because actually if they want their problem solved.
yeah,
Everyone wants that transformation. They've got
mm,
these problems, you know how to solve them, but it's using the right language, using the right terminology for them, understanding those private conversations that are going on in the back of their head that
yeah,
we might not be privy to, and then going, tell us everything, warts and all, all the
yeah,
reasons why you wouldn't want to do business with us, all your concerns and worries, and then let's answer these objectively. And actually, if you come back to them with a proper solid solution, that's a really good starting point for marketing.
mhm,
And I totally agree with you. We wouldn't recommend advertising until we know what the conversion rate's like on a page. Then we know what,
mhm,
we've even got a calculator that we use this end, that we can say your conversion rates are on this page is this is your, how much your lifetime value is. We know whether at that point they're going to get a return of investment or not.
yeah. And Jenny's just saying the same thing. Yeah, the voice of the customer. And I read a lot of books and I read a lot of blogs, and it's probably my biggest criticism. And you may have heard me say this before, that line about know your target audience sometimes just feels like one line or one throwaway sentence, and everyone will go, "Yeah, I know who it is." But you've got to spend time on it. You've got
It,
to get that right, and you can't tell them everything at once.
and so what we tend to do is say to clients, when you're looking and talking to an audience, your target audience, they'll say the same things. You just
Mm,
tally it.
yeah.
How many times do you hear it? Because if you're hearing it all the time, even if you're taking telephone calls
Mm,
and you're just tallying that information, you'll start to hear the same patterns and the
yeah.
same things. And those are giveaways as to what their biggest pain point is.
Yeah.
And that probably is our starting point, because that's the biggest pain point that they have, or you get them to rank them
Yeah.
in an order, because that's really where you want to start. If you start with the biggest pain point and prove how you can take them out of the pain into
Mm,
a different area, into not in pain, then you're likely to get that sale, and they'll resonate with themselves in the copy as well. They'll see themselves. You want those little micro commitments.
yeah.
And that's the other thing that I find, is that people always, they look at the top of the funnel and the top 3% that want to buy. And ultimately, most people aren't sitting there. They're in the 97% that sit below, that need education. They're either looking for advice, or doing their research, or not even
Mm,
problem aware. And
yeah.
so it's speaking different languages to different people at different times on their journey, and being that go-to person that they come to. And social is amazing for achieving that element, so they begin to get to know you before they actually do anything with you.
Yeah. And it is about thinking about those entry points, isn't it? It's not everything that you can do for someone. It's what is their biggest pain point, their biggest challenge that you can help with. And you keep talking about that, and then you
And
build
also
it.
getting a micro commitment. We don't
Mm,
need to hit them with the big
no,
sales straight away, because they're not always ready for that.
no.
Actually, taking them down a journey of what needs solving first, let's solve that little thing, then let's solve the next little thing.
Mm,
That helps build trust. So we're always talking about trust, but
yeah.
really mapping out that journey and where their head will be at any one time, and making sure the web pages are structured like that as well. So above the fold, you've got what you do,
Mm,
then really show people that you understand them, that they go, right, this is what you've tried before, you've probably tried this, you've probably tried this, but here's why we're different. And then you start talking about yourself, but actually they need to know that you know who they are first
yeah.
before you can even start to sell to them.
Yeah. And dare we say, this isn't quick, is it? This does take thinking and planning. But once you have done all that thinking and planning and mapping out and things like that, then it becomes easier and quicker.
And it's exactly that. And actually, what most people do when they're building a website, I find, is they just go, here's my homepage, here's my thingy page, here's this. It actually needs thought process to it. It needs the marketing plan aligned. So that's how we start, as we look at what the marketing goals or objectives are. We look
Mm,
at what they're going to be doing. They look, when they're working with someone like you, we'll bring someone like you in and go, right, what's coming? let's make sure that these pages are set up to convert the traffic that they're
Mhm.
coming on. Let's make sure that we've got the tracking and tracing there so we can see what's working and what's not. And the great thing about social media is that you're talking to your audience. It's a
Mhm.
touch point for you to be able to chat with them. There's feedback coming back all the time that we can use
Yeah.
against that. We've even got people talking now, in terms of asking questions and things, and that's really helpful because that's feeding back information to us
Yeah.
that we can use within our own businesses.
Yeah, every question is, oh, there's a blog there, or I'll go and find a resource, or I'll make sure I include that in my next teaching because this is an FAQ. So it is about constant learning, and I think the challenge is that it changes all around all the time, and we have to keep up to date and iterating align with what's changing as well. It's not a do all this planning, right? We build the website, right? We build our social media, structure of content, tick, done. No,
Yeah.
it's going to change tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a forever evolving thing. That's why, like when you work with a business coach or anything, you need to do your 90-day planning. You
Mhm.
need to really check against the goals. The businesses will change throughout the year and the goals will evolve as the business changes. And also, some things might work, some things won't.
Yeah.
What might work brilliantly. You're always thrown
Yeah.
unexpected surprises along our business journeys, aren't we?
Yeah.
Rachel Brown has asked, what is the role of social media advertising if you're having to start brand new social
Mhm.
media accounts for your clients, even if you're clear on the target audience? Then organic content alone is very slow process.
Yeah.
As we all know, clients want immediate results, and it's very difficult to persuade them to focus on brand awareness.
Big question. I'll try and keep a few points. Building audiences on social media is a really important task. And I think if you talk to anyone working in social media, they'll say that the perception is it's just about posting. And it is, that's just one small part of a social media role. Building your audience is key. And there are a few ways to do it. Depends on the platform. Starting brand new accounts is really tricky. I think there is something about managing expectations. There is very much something around building the right audience and followers versus big numbers. If you want big numbers, go and buy. Don't buy. Don't.
Don't do that.
Don't ever do it. But things like thinking about what can you offer people quite quickly. Is it a checklist? Is it a cheat sheet? Is it a sign up to an email newsletter? What's the value out of that? I think you need to, when you first start off a new account, I'm about to do this with a client, you need to populate it with some content and know that actually you'll probably get very few views, reach or engagement, but you have to populate your page. Then you think about how can I attract more people to this? And you need to have that, lead magnet, that offer, that approach, particularly if you're advertising. Run an event. I find events hugely successful for that, or your email sign up, or other kind of download.
And actually, events are a great way of turning up.
Yeah.
They take actually not huge amounts of preparation,
Mm-hmm.
and you can be up and live and having great conversations like this, which educate your audience and to what you talk about with your clients. I often find that people say, oh, if only my clients heard me talking.
Yeah.
But actually, this is a great way for your potential clients to see you actually talking before they do business with you and begin to get to know you
Yeah.
quite well. So I totally agree, and so thanks for putting me onto this because I wouldn't be doing this unless I'd done one with you myself. So I
You should do
appreciate
it.
it. But yeah, and just another thing as well. Social media algorithms, they change all the time. So chasing the algorithms, I know you sent me something this week on that, and actually it was fascinating listening to it. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's absolutely right. You can't chase the algorithms. You've got to do what's right for the client
Yeah.
first. But when we're talked about, do we put a link in, do we not put
Mhm.
a link in,
Yeah.
how do we lead that traffic back in? I generally say if the offer is right, they'll come anyway, they'll go looking for it.
Mhm.
What's your advice on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. You see me pull a face whenever there's the hacking the algorithms conversations. There has been a post, a podcast out recently in the last couple of weeks, which is an interview with two very senior people at LinkedIn that is literally like LinkedIn algorithms explained. And I'm sending this and talking about it. I'll pop it in the links later. It's very much about, yes, the platforms have algorithms. They are designed to help us as users see what we want to see by using our own interests and behaviors to show us more of what we might want to look at. That keeps us on the platform, it keeps us interested. What I search for and is in my newsfeed will be very different from you, Henny, what you're seeing, what Mark, Rachel, Jenny are seeing as well. So it's very difficult to kind of predict what an algorithm might do, and very difficult for us to control how an algorithm might support us. And my personal feeling of this is that we get distracted by those hacks and those myths, and post at 9:06 and then within 45 minutes do this, and then within another 20 minutes do that. Too complicated. People won't do it. It's too overwhelming, and then they'll get to the point of going, I won't do anything, rather than doing something. And I would rather people do something than go, overthink it too much. What is brilliant about that podcast is that LinkedIn, they talk about how it's about their overriding objective to give people economic opportunity. And whether that is allowing them to do live events or post, go out to a website, that is their objective. And my opinion on links in social media posts is, if it is your objective of your social media post that you need to drive an action that requires you to go elsewhere, downloading a PDF, signing up for a website, signing up for a free trial demo of something, if that's what your post is about, you need to put a link in there.
Because it's actually
That's the journey.
frustrating.
That's what, yeah. And I find that there is nothing worse than a post that is a little bit clickbaity. We don't have time for being teased anymore. No one wants to go off and find things for themselves. We just need to be presented with the who, what, where, why, how. Okay, I need to do this to find out more. Not try and kind of game things with like little bits here or bits and pieces there. Just give people the link if there is added value, but at the same time, don't give links if there isn't any added value after it. I've seen posts where it's, we're no longer in the days where we put the headline of our press release and then go here to look for more. Social media posts have given us so many more characters to give us that detail. Why, I can find that out on a social media platform. What added value is there of me going to read that on your website? Possibly none, unless there is to get a free trial of the product, or to sign up for an event, or to see more content. That's the value add.
PDF download that's useful to them. Yeah.
Not just the press release or the testimonial. There's got to be a
Sign
real
up
value
to our
add.
newsletter, which is dull.
Yeah.
Not, in the nicest possible sense.
Yeah.
Every time someone says, I've got to do my newsletter, I'm like, oh my God, who's going to read that? Unless, because you're just talking about yourself. And actually, I think that the focus, often what we need to do is, when you speak to people, they're passionate about their business. They love it. That's why they started their business in the first place. But we so often end up talking about themselves. And actually, it needs to be totally client focused. Because if it's not, they're not interested. And making sure that copy's right, so they're nodding along, oh, actually they understand me, they understand the challenges, and they understand how I've helped other businesses work through. People will actually take the time to actually go back to your website and look you up, or they'll start following you and they'll start watching more and more of that content that you are producing. And I always call them the silent watchers, but I'm always amazed by people who ring you up and then think that they know you haven't got a clue who they are until suddenly they've been watching you on social, or they've been following your post for some time, and they're convinced now that you can do the job that you say you're going to do. And I always think that social is amazing for that 97% of buyer that is needing to be educated, and want that reassurance that you can do what you say you're going to do. In every industry there's some rogue players, almost every industry, and every time you want something that's good done for you have to go and search for that person. And that social is a great way to get to know people very silently, without that threat. No one wants to pick up a phone to someone immediately until they're convinced that they can do something. And so for me, it's all top of the funnel in social in terms of being able to. I think if your information is good enough, they'll go looking for it. We've got a whole load of download
Hmm.
sections. We've got, blogs, we've got other things. We'll only drag them back to those areas as and when we need them.
And I think as a business as well, you want people to know a bit about you before they pick up the phone as well.
Yeah.
It is a two-way thing, isn't it? Working with someone, and if they have taken the time to read a blog or watch a webinar or do something before you get in touch with people, it's a much easier conversation. And it's business is all about relationships, isn't it? And working together in partnership with
Yeah.
people as well. So, and I know social
100%.
media is a huge challenge when people say, I hope Instagram shows it to someone. Carly, stories. I love Instagram stories because it allows me to be really quick in the moment of what I'm doing and what I'm working on, and I get to see who's looking at them. So if I only get 10 people look at an Instagram story over a weekend, I don't mind, because I know exactly who those people are that are watching what I'm doing and what I'm up to, and I can use that narrative at other points.
I totally, and I also find with, like, I've only just started doing these lives, and I find that the same people start coming back in. You can see who's signing up, who's coming, and they'll keep starting to follow you. I also think that there is that little bit of hesitance when I tell people to get in front of a camera, and they're like, no way. And I felt exactly the same. I'm a nearly 50, overweight, and I'm like, I don't want anyone to see me. And this morning I was like doing this on my wrinkles, but actually, ultimately, we're hopefully giving away great information that is going to help businesses grow. And actually, we have to get over ourselves, because
Mhm.
it's about being helpful. And
Yeah.
if I can't do it, I tell my clients to do it. So therefore, I have to do it too, to
Yes.
make sure that we are practicing what we're preaching out to people. And I know you are a great, like, example of that. You do exactly what you tell everyone to do, and your growth has been amazing. So the proof is in the pudding.
I think you kind of have to. I think it's very difficult. Maybe it's the world of social media in particular and the pace of change. But I did a talk a few weeks ago at a university, and I did this slide with, like, here's some useful tools you could use. And a really savvy student went, okay, that's great, Luan, but which one should I go for first? Like, wanted me to absolutely narrow it down. And I said, none of them. And I went, the best thing you can do is be part of this ecosystem, is do it, is try it, is experience it, is to watch what everyone else is doing and take away the bits that you feel comfortable with, that are a good kind of feel okay for you to do, versus
Mm,
dismiss the ones that go, oh no, that I couldn't do that. That feels a bit icky. And the
yeah,
more that you then, like, just take those small steps of doing it, you start off with commenting, then you start off with your own posts, and then you go live, and then you kind of go, oh, that was actually quite fun. Once I got going, I'll do
yeah.
it again, and I'll do it again. And it's about momentum, I think, is the word.
I 100% agree, and I think it's just about dipping your toe in the water, and you learn so much from it. You learn by, forget the algorithms. When people are responding and telling you stuff, you're actually learning. When I ran my shoe business, I had so many touch points with my clients all the
Mm.
time, and it made it really easy to know what to deliver. But most businesses are being done off,
Yeah.
offline, a bit online now, because we've got social media. I didn't have social media when I had my shoe
Yeah.
business, but knowing who your customer is absolutely the key, and using social media to even just read the comments and understand what people are saying and their pain points helps us to navigate our business in the right direction. And when you hit on something really good, you
Mm.
know it, and
Yeah.
that feeds back into your website, it feeds back into your rest of your social media marketing, it reads into your messaging, because you've hit the sweet spot, and it's a great place to experiment a little bit as well, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's about finding out what works and resonates. It's your storytelling overall, but it's also, dare I say, it's chasing the quality as well. Like I said, I'm happy if 10 people who I work with and are in my world see an Instagram story. You do see, of course, and it's very easy to get distracted by, hundreds of likes or reactions on something. And there is an absolute benefit to that, of course, because it pushes your content out further. More people get to see it. But if it's, I'm not saying that there isn't a place for light-hearted content and memes and things like that, because there absolutely is for some brands and tone of voice. But I'm not going to spend time printing out a meme about the Oscars the other night to get likes, because there's no value add, and that's not my tone of voice, and doesn't work for me. And I think there's a real distraction of like chasing the likes versus chasing the quality and what's going to convert
Yeah.
into business, and keeping focused on what we really need to be doing.
I agree, and I also think that we need our audience to be relatively well educated before
Mm,
they come and work with us.
yeah,
Otherwise, the things that we ask them to do just seem too much,
yeah,
seem too out there. And ultimately, uh, if we can educate them at this point so that they start to feel ready for that
mhm,
experience, then that's a really helpful thing. So you know that the people who are turning up to work with you are the right
yeah,
fit for you and your business, so that you can get those that return on investment for them. If you're literally dragging them along with you, it actually becomes quite a difficult thing, because they don't necessarily see the value. They don't know quite why they're
mhm,
being asked to do the things that they're being asked to do. So even if you do have two or three people, if they're the right two or three people, then it doesn't matter, because they're going to get those results and they're going to see their business grow as a result.
yeah. And I think it's also important to think about, just going back to that target audience, and seeing some names in here as well. It's not always about the people that are going to be your ultimate customers, the people that pay your invoice. It's the people that are going to recommend and refer you and have you
Of
in their
course.
world
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. They are possibly more valuable long term
Yeah.
than the people that actually, do transfer money into your bank. It is who you have to support you, bounce ideas off, recommend. They are a really important audience to be working towards, and works really well on social.
That is an amazing point, and I'm going to end us there, because
Oh,
actually that was
perfect.
the best one. I'm not going to top that.
Oh,
So
okay. Thank you.
I and something I
Oh,
hadn't actually thought of, because you're absolutely right. We have people who've never actually worked with us recommend us because they've seen us here. So you're absolutely dead right. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to everyone who
thank
tuned in,
you.
and all of your questions and all of your love for Luan, who I know deserves every bit of it. And I will catch up with you later. Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye.